Hey everyone, it's technology expert Burton Kelso here with another tech tip to help you get the most out of the technology in your life. Today we're talking about how to avoid getting scammed when buying a used Macintosh product. That's right. I started thinking about doing this tech tip because recently I had started having failures with a MacBook Mini that I used for my tech tips for non-tech I can't believe I tied that up. Let's do it again. For my tech tips for non-tech people videos. The computer in question, the Mac Mini, was a 2014, and even with a solid state hard drive, it did not have enough RAM in the computer, which made it impossibly slow to access. So knowing that this Mac Mini had reached its end of life, I retired it and replaced it with not a new Mac Mini, but with a pre-owned Mac Mini 2023 that I purchased on Facebook Marketplace. Now you're probably thinking, oh my goodness, what the heck were you thinking of purchasing a MacBook Mini on Marketplace? But actually, if you know what to look for, Marketplace isn't a bad place to look for any Macintosh product. It doesn't matter if it's a Mini, an iMac, or even a MacBook Pro or Air. But I want to help you avoid some of the pitfalls that can occur from purchasing Macs from third-party marketplace vendors or Craigslist, because many times the people that are selling those computers understand that they may be end-of-life Macintosh computers and they just want to be able to get rid of it to someone who may be unsuspecting. Now, it's true that Macs have a long lifespan. An average Macintosh product can last 10 to 15 years easily. The problem with Macintosh is Apple itself. Many times they'll cause their computers to become obsolete because of planned obsolescence through operating system updates, which affect not only the whole operating system and what you can run, but it also will affect Safari and Macintosh Mail. You rely on those, then you may be in a position where you need to upgrade your Mac in order to continue using those Macintosh products. Now, sometimes you can get a longer life out of your Mac if you use another web browser other than Safari, or maybe just use it as a web-only computer. But if you need to utilize everything in your Mac, and maybe you don't have the budget, then sometimes buying pre-owned isn't a bad idea. So let's take a look at the Mac Mini in question first. So here is my Mac Mini, and as you can see, it's at the time of this video, it's running the most current version of Mac OS, which is Sequoia. I can go look more information. Tells me it's a 2023 Mac. I'm happy because it's running an M2 processor. Coverage is expired, but as you can see, it's running Sequoia. And the good thing about this Mac is the display settings are great. I don't have to make much adjustments when I'm showing the Mac, and also too, the hard drive is the perfect size. Only thing that's a downer, but again, I'm not using it for high-end stuff, is the fact that it only has 8 gigs of RAM. But that is not a bad thing, because on the old Mac, I was only using 4 gigs of RAM, and frankly, it was running too slow. So how do you start the process of not getting scammed when buying pre-owned Macintosh stuff on the internet? Well, one of the first things I want to show you are the legitimate sites where you can buy refurbished stuff. Give me a second. Let me open up my window, and then I will show you all of the great places you can buy refurbished Macintosh stuff and not worry about being scammed. So there's several, I love that. There's several reputable sites that you can go to buy or sell stuff. So if you go, one of the first ones would be Declutter. And as you can see here, Declutter handles all of sustainable, if you want to get rid of it, cell phones, iPads, tablets, MacBooks, and Mac. So let's go ahead and go to sell now, verifying that I'm a human with the declutter Cloudflare option, and then you can go through, you can sell your Mac. But then also too, if you click to the shopping tab here at the top, you can go shop. Need some extra cash for your stuff, you can trade it in. But also too, you can search on Declutter for older Macintosh products for the most part. Next, used Macs by Mac of all trades is the next thing that you can go to. If you're looking for deals for refurbished computers, whether it be MacBook Airs or Pros, looking, there we go, there's some iMacs and other things that you can look for to purchase. You can also go to Swappa. Swappa also has Macs that you can sell your Mac, you can buy a Mac. It's a nice legitimate shop that you can go to as far as looking for Macintosh products. Next on our list, if it'll ever come up, is the backmarket.com site, where you can go and you can swap and buy verified refurbished items from their website. Also, Best Buy has a site where you can go to, the bestbuyoutlet.com site, which allows you to buy refurbished anything. Also, we've got 2 more sites to go, actually 3. There's refurb.me, where you can get refurbished Macintosh products with for no problem. There's Amazon Renewed, where you can buy refurbished products directly from Amazon and reputable vendors. And of course, finally, I probably should have showed them first, is that Apple Certified Refurbished allows you to buy refurbished items. Now, we'll tell you, buying from Apple Refurbished means that usually they are within the lifespan of what Apple considers to be supported. Some of the challenges with some of the refurb sites is that you will run into sites that will allow you to purchase, but it may not work with the current Mac OS operating system. Now, there are several rules that you need to keep in mind when you're doing Mac refurbished, whether it be with the reputable sites or with site, I almost said site builders, site marketplace websites like Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, even Nextdoor. You can find those items. So what should you look for as far as a Mac is concerned? And my rules are pretty strict, because I know people with non-tech skills are watching this channel, and you need to know exactly what to look for. So here we go. Number 1, you want to make sure that any Mac that you purchase is going to be at least a Macintosh 2020 or more recent. We're talking about a 5-year span, and I think that's pretty good for a Mac. As you can see, this Mac is currently a 2023, which is going to give me years of good life out of it. But when you are looking at some of those marketplace sites, make sure that you identify what year the Mac is that you're looking at. Many times people will show that the Mac is working, and it doesn't matter what Mac, and that is great. But unless you're looking for a Mac that you're going to purchase that's going to have a long lifespan, make sure that it's at least a 2020 Mac. Also, no more of you purchasing the Intel Macintosh anymore. The newer Macs have the M1 or M series processor in them, and it will let you know when you look at the About This Mac screen if it's currently running a Mac M series processor. And they're currently up to M4, but M1 was the first processor to come out in 2020, which means that you will be able to install the most current Mac operating system onto your computer. There's several other things that you need to look at when you're purchasing a Mac. Other than the operating system, you want to make sure that if all possible, going back to the Mac, you want to get a Mac that's got at least, I would say, a minimum of 8 gigabytes of RAM. If it's got 4 gigabytes of RAM, then you're doing yourself a disservice, and it's not going to work that well for you. Also, it will come with it, but also, other than the M1 or the M series processor and 8 gigs of RAM, Macintosh hard drive is going to contain a solid state hard drive automatically. And of course, if you can get 500 gigabytes, great. 256, there are options that you can do in order to store your files offline, such as using iCloud or even OneDrive to store those files offline. Now, let's say you find a Mac that works for you. If it's from if you look at the specifications that I've given you and it's from a reputable source, not much you need to do. If you get the Mac and it doesn't work, you can simply return it to one of the vendors that you purchased online. But let's say you found something online and you think it's great and you want to you want to get it. These are the things that you need to do. So number one, you need to make sure that if you're purchasing a Mac off of a marketplace site, you probably, I shouldn't even say probably, you need to meet this person face to face. That's what I did with my Mac Mini. Met him at a local Starbucks, brought the Mac. Funny enough, since it's a Mac Mini and it doesn't have a screen, brought my own monitor and hooked it up to the Mac Mini to make sure that it would actually work. Your next tip as far as purchasing a Mac and making sure that it is at least an M series Macintosh is hook it up. Make sure that the Wi-Fi works on the Mac, and it doesn't matter if it's a MacBook, Mac Mini, iMac. Obviously, make sure that it comes on first. Once you get it on, make sure that you go through the setup and register it in your name, because sometimes people will get misappropriated Macintosh stuff and it's got the Mac or the Find My Mac login built into it, which means it would be impossible for you to utilize that Mac as your own Mac because it's trying to get back to its previous owner. So once you can turn it on, log in using your own Apple ID account, connect the computer to a Wi-Fi setting. That's why I'm saying every time you purchase a Mac on your own, not to get scammed, you want to go through the paces as if you were setting up the Macintosh for the first time. Doesn't matter if the person was savvy enough to keep the box for the old Mac, take it out of the box, inspect all of the cables and cords that come with it, especially if you're buying a MacBook Air or a MacBook Pro. You want to make sure that those charger cords come with it. Same thing with an iMac and a Mac Mini. You want them there because you don't want the expense of purchasing a cord, and you want to plug it in and make sure that this thing works. Next, look it over for any cracks or any damages once it's on. A lot of times if you do this in the initial step without the monitor being on, you won't be able to see any physical damage to the Mac. You will on the outside, but as far as screens are concerned, it's best you have that screen on and then start looking for cracks and damages on it. Also, you want, Apple Care isn't that important. So if it doesn't have Apple Care, that's not that important. It can be an out of warranty Mac, but give it the once over. The other thing you want to do is that you want to make sure that you check the drives on the Mac to make sure that you can actually install a Mac OS. In fact, it's a good idea if someone has formatted that Mac that you bring a USB device with you that has the current version of Mac OS. Now, the challenge with this is that if you are wanting to install Mac OS on the computer, then it may take it a minute or two. One of the things I did with the Mac Mini was to download the latest OS, which was Sequoia, and installed it on the Mac, and it was ready to go. But if you bring your own USB drive, it may take it a minute to install. Also, this is a good time to remember, before you meet the person to get this Mac, to look at what year or what model year and what model it is. Again, if you run across a Intel based Mac, unless you are Mac savvy or just looking for an old Mac, you really need to get away from any Macintosh product that is still running an Intel processor. Just not really supported anymore, and you can't get the latest operating systems and features if you're using an Intel processor Mac. Also, again, look and see what chip it has and the year. That will let you know what OS you could bring with you to install Mac OS so that you can verify that it is a working Mac. Also, take the time to check out the USB ports on the Mac. You can do this by bringing not a Bluetooth Mac mouse like the one that I have sitting on my desk somewhere, but you want to bring just a standard USB plug-in mouse and keyboard to verify that it's going to work. If you're worried about Bluetooth, bring a pair of Apple or Bluetooth headphones to verify that the Bluetooth work. And again, make sure that the Wi-Fi is going to work just fine on the used Macintosh product that you're purchasing. Now, if you're purchasing a MacBook or a MacBook Air from an individual, you want to check the condition of the battery as well. Usually if you're buying an M series Mac, the battery should be good. But again, plug in that thing, make sure it's going to charge the battery to ensure that you're going to get a good life out of it. Now, one final thing that you might want to do is, once you get your Mac up and going, is to run the Macintosh hardware diagnostic test. So when you do that, you can go, I always forget, you can always go to Searchlight and type in utilities, or you can type in diagnostics. If I can find it. One of these days I'll find it. Let's go here and see if we get it. But anyway, you can go and do the diagnostics on your MacBook. Sorry, I wasn't able to find them. But anyway, check it out physically. Macintosh diagnostics. If you can find it, run it. If not, as long as the Mac boots up, you're able to use the operating system. You should be in good shape as far as your Mac is concerned. And also, make sure if someone gives you a Mac that has already the operating system loaded on the computer, make sure you know what the admin password is and log into the Mac to verify that you can get into the Macintosh without being held hostage by having a Mac that doesn't have the admin password. And the admin password is very important on a Mac, because if you don't have the admin password, you could maybe have a user account, but if there's any personalized settings you need to make on the Mac, then you're not going to be able to do it if you don't have the administrative password. So hopefully these tips will help you if you're buying a refurbished Macintosh and you don't want to get scammed. There are a ton of scams that are going on. So again, you might want to just consider buying from a factory refurbished area. But if you found a deal that's too good to be true on Craigslist, Marketplace, or even Nextdoor, follow these tips to ensure that, number one, you don't get scammed, which means always meet someone in a public place to exchange that. So that way you can put eyes on it and make sure that you're safe, and bring someone with you too, because there have been incidents of people getting attacked when trying to exchange electronics. So keep that in mind. So if you have any comments or questions about this video, be sure to leave them in the comment section below. And if you like this video, be sure to comment, like, and share it with your non-tech friends that may need help purchasing a refurbished Macintosh. I will say also too, if you're buying a Mac or an older Mac from a friend, make sure that you keep track of the processor as well. Again, you want to stick with the year 2020 and above when it comes to purchasing any Macintosh product. So my purpose with every video is to make sure that you are opened up to a whole new world of ideas and experiences involving your technology. I love technology. I've read all the manuals, and I'm serious about making technology fun, safe, and easy to use for everyone. So take care of yourself and do many things to make you smile, and thanks for watching.